Welcome back to TVB News. A former Washington Post editor is being remembered as one of the great American journalists. Ben Bradlee, who guided the Washington Post through its Pulitzer Prize-winning coverage of the Watergate scandal, has died at age 93.
Over a span of more than 2 decades until his retirement in 1991, Ben Bradlee became one of the most important figures in Washington. By leveraging his extensive political connections, including a close relationship with the Kennedys, the Harvard-educated Bradlee transformed the Washington Post into one of the most dynamic and respected publications in the United States. He did it by hiring talented, driven, investigative journalists like Bob Woodward and Carl Bernstein. Under Bradlee's guidance, their Pulitzer Prize-winning coverage of the Watergate scandal helped topple U.S. President Richard Nixon.
I shall resign the presidency effective at noon tomorrow.
The scandal inspired the 1976 box office hit movie All the President's Men.
Get some harder information next time.
Bradlee was one of the few people to know the identity of the now famous Watergate source dubbed Deep Throat.
No questions.
Okay. Nice to see you. You stay a little longer.
The identity of Deep Throat was finally revealed publicly in 2005 as former FBI official Mark Felt.
People talk to journalists for a reason. It's up to the journalist to understand that reason as best he can. And I think that we did understand Mark Felt. He was disturbed by what he saw happening in the White House, what he saw being covered up, and he decided to go public.
In 1971, against legal advice, Bradlee published the Pentagon Papers, a secret study of the Vietnam War. The ensuing legal battle went all the way to the Supreme Court, which bolstered press freedom by upholding the right of newspapers to publish the leaked papers.
Everybody, please have a seat. Have a seat.
U.S. President Barack Obama, who awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom to Bradlee last year, said Bradlee's standard for honest, objective, meticulous reporting unleashed a new era of investigative journalism. Bradlee died at his home Tuesday of natural causes.
The United States has ratcheted up safeguards against Ebola Tuesday. The Obama administration announced that travelers coming from 3 stricken West African countries must pass through one of 5 designated airports for temperature checks. Alan Bookneer reports.
The move responds to pressure from some Congress members to impose an outright travel ban on Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. About 150 people per day arrive in the U.S. from those countries, and just 9 per day through airports other than those designated. They'll now all have to fly into either JFK in New York or the international airports in Washington, Newark, Chicago, or Atlanta. In New York City, passers-by said they were generally okay with the announcement.
Certainly set up the proper medical facilities to, ensure that no one has the virus. So that certainly sounds like a good idea.
This is a free country. We're free to go anywhere and everywhere, but obviously these problems are bringing up issues for a lot of us. So we want to be protected at home.
There's also stepped-up training. In New York, thousands of healthcare workers attended an educational session aimed at Ebola awareness and preparation.
There needs to be more events like this to keep us up to date with healthcare and changes, and every single day things are changing.
I learned a lot. I didn't really know all the side effects, the symptoms of Ebola, so that was very interesting information, as well as how to suit up to protect yourself.
In Spain, health authorities announced Tuesday that a nurse who contracted Ebola has been cleared of the deadly disease after testing negative for it over 4 consecutive days. Teresa Romero contracted the virus after caring for 2 priests repatriated from West Africa with the disease, who later died. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization announced results of clinical trials on 2 potential vaccines are expected by the end of the year. If the vaccines are deemed safe, tens of thousands of doses will be used in trials in West Africa beginning in January. Alan Bookneer, TVB News.
Nearly 6 months after he was taken into custody on charges of leaving a Bible in a nightclub, American detainee Jeffrey Fowle has been released from North Korea. The 56-year-old equipment operator from the U.S. state of Ohio had been awaiting trial in relation to the incident. Christian evangelism is considered a crime in North Korea. Fowle was flown out of Pyongyang on a U.S. government jet to Guam on his way to America. The Swedish government helped negotiate his release. The U.S. State Department says Fowle was evaluated by a doctor and appears to be in good health. Two other Americans, 24-year-old Matthew Miller and 46-year-old Kenneth Bay, have been tried and convicted of crimes in North Korea and are still being held there.
The United States has transferred a Marine suspected of murdering a transgender Filipino to a Philippine military base under U.S. guard. Earlier, some Philippine lawmakers and activists called on the government to terminate the visiting forces agreement with the U.S. unless Washington hands over the soldier. The Marine was taken to a Philippine military facility in Manila today from a U.S. amphibious assault ship where he had been confined. Private First Class Joseph Scott Pemberton is accused of murdering Jeffrey Lord, who also went by the name Jennifer, in Olongapo City, north of Manila. Under the Visiting Forces Agreement, the Philippines is supposed to exercise jurisdiction over such crimes. Appearing at a forum this morning, Philippine President Benigno Aquino said the case will not affect the military agreement with the U.S. He added that the treaty serves a purpose for both countries. Olongapo prosecutors have summoned the Marine to appear on October the 27th as part of a preliminary investigation into the murder. All right, James, over to you for sports.
Yeah, exciting news for F1 fans here in Hong Kong. In Spain, Adderley Fong became the first Hong Kong driver to test a Formula One race car. This week,